I think the first thing really is to concentrate on um, a little bit about sort of, who we are. So on this call itself, we've got myself, one of the co-founders and CEO, Matt Smithies, who technically is the CTO, wasn't here right at the beginning, but you can count him as a founder, really. So he's absolutely instrumental in everything we've been doing over the last number of years. So and then Christina Miliver, she's on the call as well, one of our co-founders and directors, and I'll talk to you a bit more about Christina as the sort of call goes on. So first of all, I'll keep the token bit out of this just for a second. Although I'm sure it'll occupy the majority of this of this call, but what are we building and why is it important? I think that's really an important side of it. Anybody who's been following DOVU will know that actually what we've been focused on is not the token over the last few years. It's been actually the underlying product and the platform that we're building that addresses a real need and a global market. Our strategy has always been to build something that matters, powered by the token, not build a token and then trying to figure out, how we keep momentum on the token itself. So we've always felt that if we built the right thing, then that will in itself power the token and then achieve all of the goals that people have of the token itself. So, and we've taken much longer than we thought we would to get to where we are. That's the harsh fact, for a number of reasons. One is haven't got the strategy right. The market is too immature. We're too immature. A whole range of different sort of reasons that anybody who's been on the startup journey will know. Nothing is plain sailing. You have to move and you have to adapt until you find the right space that you've earned the right to occupy. So what we're building is, where we've got to really is in the sort of ecological credits market, or carbon credit market as it's sort of better known. One of the things that's one of the biggest challenges is how do you scale the supply of quality carbon to fit the needs and requirements and demands of corporates and governments in the future, not just about now, but in the future. And what we have in the sort of carbon industry, the sort of credit industry, are quite sort of old-fashioned sort of systems and structures. When I say old-fashioned, I'm talking about spreadsheets, and I'm talking about sort of emails and physical sort of requirements to attend for verification and so on. All of these things are just sort of really not scalable, and we need to build things that are sort of better, to build trust, to create simpler audits. And you can leverage technology to do that. So if you're a carbon supplier, if you have the ability to sort of go onto a platform to be able to upload all of your documentation, write your documentation with the help of AI, verify it against a sort of methodology, document all of these events on chain, so that it's fully auditable, mint your carbon or credit, and make that available to be sold, and then make a record of where that carbon is in the sort of ecosystem and whether that's been sold or not. And also, more importantly, whether it's been retired or not, so it can't be sold twice. If you can do that simply, quickly, and easily, then as a carbon project, you can have control of your stock, really, of your supply. And that's what our job is. Our job is to make it really, really simple for a carbon project anywhere in the world to document in any language, leveraging AI, all on chain, fully auditable, and make it easy then for a buyer to trace the quality and make an informed decision as to whether they want to purchase that carbon or not. Leveraging measurement technologies such as satellites, IoT devices, and other forms of data as well, in order to again enhance the reputation and the reliability of that carbon. So that's what we're building, that's what we've built, and that's what we're rolling out. And DOVU OS is what underpins all of that. So, you're going to need, and our companies and our partners will need to have DOVU in order to access this platform. And that's what the DOVU OS sort of system is. And I don't know, Matt, do you want to sort of pick up on that now, or do you want to sort of deal with that a
Yeah,
little later?
I think we kind of expand on the other side of things. Like what we found, or kind of our experience generally, is that there are so many larger organizations that want to sustainability. They want to kind of create these projects, but it's like there's no way or no easy way for them to kind of begin to start these solutions. Even with the Guardian, which is an incredible tool, could still take months, maybe years, and it could take like millions of dollars just to create a production system. And so what we found, especially with MMCM, is that we managed to bring them to market, generate credits for them, and being able to take that all that pressure off their shoulders. So all they have to do is focus on actually generating their supply, and then we digitize it. And so that is something like DOVU OS isn't just for the projects, but it's also for these large corporates who want to scale their climate activity.
Yeah, and some of this will be repeated again, but specific to some of the questions that have been raised as well. So that's what we've been focused on basically, is building something that's relevant, that fits a huge addressable market, and is something that makes sense not just for now, but makes sense as a business 5 years from now. And we only see the requirement for solutions like DOVU just grow and grow and grow over the coming years. And we're very pleased to form part of a system that we think is to the benefit of everyone, the planet, and everybody living on it. And that's our mission. So that's about the product, but you can read up on that, and we'll cover a little bit about that in the future. So I want to get sort of more now into some of the specific things that we said we were going to be doing really in 2024, and one of them was raising capital. So we've kept a very sort of lean machine really within DOVU through the market. Whether you call it a bear market, I think it's still a bear market really. There's a few signs of hope, but we're not quite there in the sort of bull run yet, I don't think. So companies that have a token, companies that are living on chain, companies that are Web3 have been through a sort of a lean time, and we've kept our overheads very low as we've been building what it is that we need to build. Now we're finding sort of product market fit with the actual product itself. Now we can start to expand and leverage, as I say, the DOVU operating system, and then part of that is the funding. So the funding discussions are ongoing. I promised I'd share with you what I could when I could. There's nothing to share, really, to be honest, on that right now, other than we're having very, very positive conversations, helped massively, of course, by what's happening in the sort of market, and and the volume, the sort of growth, the buzz around DOVU right now. It's just a brilliant time for us to be raising capital, and the discussions really are around the hybrid or combination between equity, which is ownership of the company itself, which we have sort of never done really. Well, we did it right at the beginning, but a small amount of equity we sold. But the funding that we've had up to now is all of the funding came via our token event back in 2017. So the conversations we're having with funders right now are around a hybrid of token and equity, or just equity. And those are we're at that discussion, that point as to which is going to be the best fit for us. But also, how do any new funders help us get to the next stage? So one of the things that's really important for DOVU is we use funding to sort of enable our token to have more liquidity, a bigger reach, and that really means accessing some of the larger centralized exchanges as well. So that's one of the key reasons why we're raising capital, is to give us the liquidity and the reach to enable the token to be sort of more accessible really, and to access new communities for it. So that's that's where we're at. I'm a strong believer that actually all exchanges are going to be decentralized at some point. Well, I hope so anyway. But the reality is that isn't the case right now. So I think that it's, for some people, still the usability, the access via a decentralized exchange is far too daunting. Um, and and that's the fault of Web3, really. That's we should make things easier. So people feel a lot more comfortable with more of a Web2 sort of experience via centralized exchanges. So you've got to play the game and get involved in that. So that's really the funded update. Is that it's early days. We're early into January. Conversations are ongoing. We're seeing a big appetite to sort of get involved in companies like ours, especially ones where we're growing as we are. So I'm very confident that we'll get the capital that we need in order to achieve our goals. And I'll cover some of the other stuff sort of later in the questions that are around centralized exchanges and listing and so on. Should we start with the questions, Matt?
Yeah, that sounds great. Although I would mention that after the questions, we do have a slight announcement that will excite our community. But we'll wait to disclose that after we've gone through the questions. A bit of mystery.
Matt,
A bit of mystery.
Um,
Hopefully my microphone's a bit better now, so apologies, but still, let's carry on. So let's start with the questions. So the top one is we're going to go through the Discord ones that we've received. So the first one was from this guy, fellow called Jeep Top Down. Do you anticipate that most of the carbon you on board will utilize DOVU OS? And I'll answer that one. But I would basically say in this case, absolutely yes. As we move forward, everything will kind of go through DOVU OS. That will include all of the token requirements needed to kind of mint, all the way through from policy creation to minting to order stability to sale. So that's a big yes from me, basically. Is there anything you kind of want to add to that, Evan?
No, absolutely not. I think that if you use our system, you're going to need DOVU. I mean, if we make it as simple as that.
Okay, cool. And then let's carry on. So the next one is from Mark Sunday. Are we looking at centralized exchange listings? You did touch on this a second ago.
Yeah, we are. I mean, there's two different things here, right? There's one, raising the capital to get tier one listings, and tier one listings are expensive. And then there's listings on CEXs. So the normal strategy for sort of token projects would be, getting some volume up. Well, there's two things. Either you're going to do a sort of token of sale or a token event on a centralized exchange immediately, and then use them as a launch pad. Obviously, DOVU's a bit further forward than that, so that isn't the case with us. So we're sort of a secondary listing, as they would class it. So there's a few things that you do. You either build up volume, users, data on decentralized exchanges, so that the large centralized exchanges then take a look at the ticket size of the trades. They take a look at how many trades there are, obviously the volume, and sort of liquidity and everything else that's put in there. And then they make a decision as to whether it's worth their while sort of having you on their centralized system. It's easy to get listed on tier 2, tier 3. Tier 3 is just easy. It's really easy, but there's very little action or liquidity on them. Tier 2 ones, will probably, again, it's fairly simple. The costs aren't too prohibitive. So we'll be on the centralized exchanges very soon. Our goal, though, is to be on tier 1 centralized exchanges, because we're just taking a look at the volume that we can do on decentralized exchanges and organically. And then you've got to take a look at what volume you can do organically on one of the tier 2 centralized exchanges, and they don't compete.
Okay, great answer. Right, so let's carry on. So the next fella, SG_Harbarian, gave us 6 questions. So let's kind of hammer through those. First one for you, Evan. How much DOVU is actually on the market?
Yeah, I mean, so we minted 10 billion DOVU tokens, and we've said consistently the same thing. They're all on the market. None are locked up. Of course, not all of them are in the hands of individuals. So as a project ourselves, we still sort of, I think about 76, 77% is in the hands of individual wallet holders, somewhere around that figure. But all of the rest of them could be used by the project at any time, at any space, in order to fulfill the sort of mission of the project itself. Nothing that we do will be harmful to the project. But I think it's the mentality, really. If you adopt a mentality as a community to say, look, they're all circulating, then you can stop sort of stressing about any other wallets that sort of get active. They're all active.
Okay, and now question two, and then I think we'll split this one. How much is with the team, and how much is reserved for staking? I guess we could go into as deep as you want for the first section. If you want, Irvine, up to you.
Yeah, I mean, the team. I'm not going to share with everybody what the team have got. I mean, that's I don't share, with my children what my salary is. So I'm not going to, which is zero, by the way, for DOVU. But I'm not going to, so that we're not going to do that. I mean, all the tokens are circulating. The team have tokens, of course. We've been around since 2017 and 18. Some of the, and therefore yeah, I mean, the team have tokens, of course they do. But one thing is for sure, right? We've been at this for a very long time. We're going nowhere, and we're building something of value.
Yeah,
How much
absolutely.
reserved for staking? How much did we put in the staking pot? I can't
So
remember.
this is interesting. So I guess the best way I would kind of explain it is the conversations we've been recently having. So we're currently emitting 320,000 DOVU a day, which comes to around, let's say, $500-600. Obviously, the price has changed a bit today, but on average, if we keep on this kind of rate, that ends up being approximately 1% of supply a year, which, given our reserves, is more than enough to last us for years, basically. But we are more than able to tweak that at any point where we deem fit.
Yep. And then we'll cover probably later in some of the questions what our sort of circular plan is for the tokens anyway,
Yes.
and how they sort of flow back in. Some of you will have already figured it out that if you need DOVU all the time for everything that we do, then that DOVU has to come from somewhere if the DOVU is all circulating. So
That kind of
yeah,
leads nicely onto the next question. How much
yeah,
DOVU estimate will DOVU OS be consuming daily? Which is very precise, but the kind of best view I would consider it is if you have a look at our DOVU OS landing page, we go into the case study with MMCM, which talks about the end of life credits. And there are 20 million cars in India that need recycling. And there are 5 million cars that are due to be recycled every single year. And so even if you capture 10% of that, you're talking six figures in fees in DOVU every year. And obviously that's all speculation, but that's just a single use case of what we're delivering and what our project will be capable of kind of producing. Feel free to add more, Eva.
no, I can't. I mean, it's what I will touch on is the contract that we have with our Indian partners. You'd have seen, if you'd seen our Twitter, the Minister of Transport for India launching this project, and it's a serious mission for the Indian government to get these old vehicles off the road and recycled properly. So that in itself is a huge opportunity for us, but also our partners over there have got multiple other projects that we're engaging in. So for us, India is a huge opportunity, and and I think that sort of bodes well for how many DOVUs are going to be needed, in the future. When I've just said that you need DOVU to power everything that we do.
Yeah, especially where the Indian government pushing forward with their green credit initiative. There's just so much opportunity there.
Yep. So number 4, I see here, we got some exchange listing plans was a question as well. I've already covered that, but one thing I would say very quickly is obviously we do have plans to list on other decentralized exchanges. We work with our partners at Hashport, who do a fantastic job of making it really easy for us to actually, sort of bridge over into, I think they got 12 sort of EVMs protocols that we can sort of, sort of build liquidity in. We've only done one so far, which is Ethereum and Uniswap, but we will undoubtedly sort of get involved with more liquidity pools to sort of so that we're bringing not just the Hedera faithful into our community, but reaching out to others so that they can find out about Hedera through the protocols that they're already operating on. Secondly, sort of plans for marketing. Yeah, I mean, we have, of course, now that we are comfortable that we've found the right product and we've built it and we're building sort of case studies around it as well. What you've got to do now is add fuel to that fire. So we've got plans to market the product itself. And of course, I talked about sort of raising capital and going on tier one, exchanges and everything else. So of course, the marketing around the token and the utility of the token and everything that we do will coincide with that. But what we don't ever do or want to do is market the token for the token's sake. The token always has to be tied in, with what it is that we're doing and the utility of it. And we'll accelerate that marketing as DOVU OS sort of, accelerates as well.
Amazing. And then the final question on this sub list is, I do hope staying in Hedera would be a lifelong and permanent place for DOVU. And I would say unequivocally yes. In terms of what Hedera and the hashgraph technology provide, there is nothing else in the market that would be able to drive the kind of solutions we are building. Cool.
Correct.
And so got two more.
Yeah, we're on Rakdos. Is it Rakdos?
Rakdos, yes.
How is the amount of DOVU tokens to use DOVU OS determined? Right.
All right. So what we're going to do is effectively look at all the transactions we are doing on chain. And so you need to imagine this in the context of creating credits and creating what we like to think of as a flywheel. So the use of DOVU will generate an asset that is more valuable than the actual price. So we would take the HBAR fees and potentially 20 to 50x them. And so that would be anything from minting credits or using our AI platform for onboarding documents and generating wizards. And that would end up being the structure. So it's always a markup from the price of HBAR. And in addition to that, we're going to follow kind of what Hedera have done with their fees. So it's always going to be low cost, fixed in USD by using kind of oracles and things like that.
Do you have any partnerships with demand side companies? Yes. And then, refer to previous sort of answer around what we're doing in India and so on, and others. So we've got a healthy pipeline from that. Then Mitch asks, which Web3 investor is DOVU receiving funding from? Don't know, haven't decided. We are, in discussions really. And then how is the DOVU OS trial period going? Well, yeah, I mean, we're built, that's been built out right now. I mean, all the details that we can share on that will be done as we go through it, really. I mean, we're building in public pretty much. So there's nothing much to share there, really.
It's all about saying that we have all these different parts and eventually we'll get to the point where they're all interconnected. And so that's basically where we are at the moment with all the projects we're working on.
And that sort of answers the other question that Mitch had was, when is it live? When's DOVU OS live? And I don't think have we put a timeline? We haven't put a timeline on that. As Matt said, it's all the components are there. It's just the joining up and the underpinning of that really into the token sort of system that we're pulling together. But we'll, as I say, keep you updated as to how that's going on.
Because ultimately it's all about serving the larger customers their needs, like our case studies, and then from that, once that's solid, then that we have a product that the normal developer, the normal project can use, and it's been battle tested.
Yeah, and I think just on that as well, it depends what you mean by live. So let's take our Indian partners, MMCM, for example. So getting DOVU OS running for that huge opportunity, and not just opportunity, we have a 3-year contract with them. So so building something specifically for them, and leveraging DOVU OS to do that will, as Matt said earlier, has the potential to drive hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of token sort of demand, just on that one sort of project. Now we go on to some of the questions that came in from Twitter. This is from Koiman Hadavarian. And it's really related to Novik Tech. The rebrand of Timeless was announced by Google Cloud. Timeless is the Carbon Central platform. Does this platform leverage DOVU OS, DOVU for carbon emissions or offset tokens? No, I think would be the answer.
No, not at this time.
We had a relationship with Timeless under a different CTO. I think that's fair.
Yes, absolutely.
and we really haven't engaged with Timeless for quite some time. I haven't anyway. I mean, Matt may have on a technical level, and through sort of some of the other Hedera sort of groups that Matt is part of. But me as the CEO, I've not engaged with Timeless since that time. So no.
Let's move on.
From Michael, Hederian for life.
Oh,
I'd
yes.
love to learn.
Yes.
Yeah, so well, I'd love to learn more about the newly announced DOVU OS. Does this mean the focus will now shift towards filling the marketplace with new projects and credits? And what is the most efficient way of doing that? Well, I can answer some of that really. So we announced a partnership with Puro Earth a little while ago. Now, Puro Earth are a registry, basically. They're not a marketplace, so they register permanent carbon removal projects. So not nature-based ones as such, but more projects like ClimaWorks, which sort of suck CO2 from the air through these big machines and sort of store the carbon underground and so on. So anything that I think they classify as over 1,000 years of carbon removal. So that's a system, you know, and a registry that we're working with them and seeing the value of pulling in those credits via an API into DOVU. So that's one aspect where we can sort of quickly sort of bring things in, but really, I'd rather find new sources of supply. So the most efficient way for us to do that is to sort of get our system working as seamlessly and simple as possible to allow new carbon projects such as MMCM in India to sort of come on board. So there's lots of exciting projects. There's lots of opportunity out there. We can, of course, ingest, you know, credits like Puro Earth from other registries,
Yes.
but it's that's not too exciting for us, frankly.
I would also add that even in our current state of affairs, we have the ability to very rapidly generate test credits for custom projects. So one such project, Samvimbo, everyone's been buying out the biodiversity credits, but even with our tools today, we can generate custom credits for them on testnet, and they can actually go to, you know, the ESG Explorer and actually view it and have an idea of like what they could do working with us, which no one else can really do on Hedera.
Yeah, so lots of experimentation. Question here from Sean Passler. Sean, apologies, Sean. 9 months ago in the Gossip interview, this is you, Matt, you mentioned a focus shift from small agricultural farming carbon credits to a wider range of applications. I see that the marketplace is primarily farms. How has progress been going in this regard, and will you be offering more on the market?
Yes.
I think I can cover this a little bit, and then you can sort of jump in, Matt. One thing I do want to say is that we are not going forward as a marketplace. A marketplace was a test for it's code and test that we created. So you'll be able to buy from us, but like a marketplace, you know, there are too many marketplaces out there which are not differentiating themselves. Our job is not to be the marketplace, but to enable our credits to be created and sold anywhere. So if that makes sense. So we're not, and it's going to be anything, you know, from an ecological perspective. So it isn't just going to be about soil. It isn't just going to be about small farms. It's going to be about anything, anywhere that want to create, mint, and verify an ecological credit. Will be able to use our platform and use the expertise that our AI system helps them with in order to get the credibility to create a credit that is tradable.
Absolutely. And it's all about that flexibility, being dynamic, anyone being able to record any bit of data the easiest way possible, basically. All right, so let's carry on to question
three was like the carbon offset, actually this question I've covered. It's could you explain simply the general areas of the carbon industry and how DOVU fits within it? I think I've covered that, and if not, then we can have a whole session on that, basically, because it's in terms of the industry itself. But it's sort of, I'm conscious of the time, that's all, so we can move on.
Absolutely. And I think it's just about bringing structure to an area where everything is so fragmented and siloed, and that's really what we're pushing. So question 4, HCS 20. Yes, we are currently experimenting with HCS 20. There is a lot of interesting things we can do with it, but I'd rather not go into that at this point and make promises. Do you want to add anything to that, Irfan?
No, I think Matt's loves HGS 20, and quite rightly, and anybody who knows, you can buy a Smitty's point and spend it on Matt himself, and it's a great way of experimenting with the system and seeing what it's capable of. So, it's we're definitely looking to see how it can be used, and there's a number of areas where I think it's just perfect for. But that's probably as much as we want to say right now.
All right,
Um,
cool. Next author of questions, Matt.H.
yeah, is there an update regarding the coin market cap listing? Oh my God, yeah, it's like banging your head against the wall every day, really, and so you get nothing back. So we are pushing to try to get it updated. We are saying, look, it's dangerous for it not to be updated. It's not a great experience for the community not to see everything that's there and make it visible. But we'll keep pushing, and at some point it'll change. Back in the day, it used to be a lot simpler. It used to be much easier to engage. I don't know whether that's since they got acquired by Binance, I think, was it? That
Yeah.
it sort of changed. But yeah, there isn't an update. It's just annoying.
Question 2: do companies need to buy DOVU directly to use DOVU OS, or will there be a payment gateway?
Yeah, they're not. I mean, to ask companies to sort of get on Source Swap and buy some tokens is not realistic. So our job is to sort of abstract that away, and create on ramping for corporates. Because our customers are corporates. So our suppliers may be small companies, but the demand side in terms of purchasing carbon, we're focusing on getting, large corporates to buy these credits, and to make it easier for them to do that, because there's too much, I think, onus put on individuals and not enough onus put on corporates to get involved in this sort of process. So that's what we're focused on.
And yeah, of course, C14 goes a long way to kind of support that as well.
Yeah, and I think that's just going to come more and more and more. Unfortunately, it's this sort of relationship between KYC, AML, and Web3 and decentralization. It's a constant friction as to how that all sort of plays out. But I'm confident that we will be able to have a system that sort of enables this to sort of work seamlessly. But yeah, we're not building a product where it relies on someone to own Hashpack and sort of connect to Source of Swap in order to use our system.
Right then, 2 more questions, and then we can go on to the mysterious announcement and any questions. So,
yeah.
Any plans to list DOVU on an exchange like Coinbase? We've covered this before. Absolutely, yes. So the final question: will we be able to buy credits on DOVU with HBAR, USDC, or crypto? I would. It's not in the roadmap, and it won't be in the roadmap, because we firmly believe that access to credits should be as simple for everyone. So over a credit card with Stripe for anyone in the world, for 99% of the population, because even now we're still a minority.
Yeah, I think it's sort of we don't build for our Web3 community. It's a bit weird to sort of say, hey, we're a Web3 sort of community building company. We leverage, and we're obviously hugely excited, and we've always been a Web3 builder. But actually, our products to scale need to be available to anybody, anywhere. So yeah, so that's that.
I think we've done it. Okay, announcement time. We're bringing back lifetime staking, and everyone who is currently staked right now has been automatically enrolled. And when the next reward cycle comes, everyone's going to have a 20% boost on their current yield.
What?
However, the rules of engagement are: if you want to get on the staking, you'll have until the rest of the week, and then we will make adjustments. But if you do remove tokens from your staking account, you will permanently lose this staking bonus. Feel free to log into the dovu.markets staking platform to understand the rules. If you've got any questions, let us know on Discord. But kind of thank you for everyone's excitement right now.
Yeah, brilliant. And actually, Matt has built a fantastic, I have to say it, a fantastic sort of staking mechanism for DOVU. And you know, there's going to be a lot of things we are going to be doing within the business development of DOVU relative to the staking mechanisms, because each one of you has the ability to have a unique sort of stake in return based on your actions. And if you think about that, when we plug into a wider, you know, ecosystem for Hedera, especially with some of our other partners within the Hedera ecosystem, you know, that will enable us to sort of leverage sort of DOVU in order to benefit the community and benefit all of you sort of who decide to sort of stake. And so, I mean, that may sound a bit abstract. It's not meant to. It's just that I think that there's a lot of utility within that staking mechanism that Matt has put in place.
Yes, it's very powerful. Okay, I think we've been good time. So I guess we should ask the community or anyone else that wants to shout at us if they want to come up and ask any questions.
Yep.
Hey, I got a quick question about the marketplace. I know a lot of the staking revolves around that, in terms of like purchasing carbon credits. How is that going to work in the future if you're removing it?
We're never going to remove the marketplace. The best way you can kind of think about it is it just becomes a tool in our quiver. So the entire operation system is a suite of tools where the marketplace is just one of the applications. And so there will always be the marketplace where carbon can be sold, and there will always be the staking platform, and there will always be a connection between buying carbon and getting rewarded thereafter.
Yeah, I think when I talk about the marketplace, I'm talking about it specifically as a product that you then need to build sort of human resource around, really, and therefore you become a carbon marketplace, such as, I mean, there's a whole host of them out there. Whereas we're focusing on the sort of tools itself to be leveraged by others, and because we don't want to be in a position where we're going, hey, we're on board in sort of millions and millions of tons of carbon, and then we then have to engage a global sales force to go and sell that to corporates. You know, that's not what DOVU is about. So the marketplace will always be there in terms of the credits that are coming through the system, but it's not something. But the actual selling of the credits on scale will be done through partners. It's
Yeah,
that makes any sense.
That clears up everything. I do have one more for really Matt. I've heard an interview a while back. I can't remember which one, but you mentioned, you guys and the devs on your end are sitting in these meetings with the Guardian, and there's a bunch of other devs at the table as well. What does that look like as a fly on the wall? Is there anything that you could describe to us in terms of like progress, or anything alike?
So what the builders for the Guardian, they've done a terrific job, but ultimately one of the kind of issues with it is that it's a piece of infrastructure that you need to manage yourself, and that makes it inaccessible for the majority of people. So you can almost think of us as the middleware that goes on top of it to make it super easy. People can use the Guardian itself, but actually using it can be a challenge. It can be difficult. There is a lot of flexibility there, but this is what we see our opportunity as ourselves. Being in the Guardian community is great, but there is trying to find. We're almost trying to make the toolkit for the Guardian. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. But what about like in terms of conversations that are being had over there? Is it growing and ever evolving, or I mean, is the momentum picking up from where it was maybe 9 months ago?
Yeah, I mean, the Guardian is continually growing in scope, feature set. You can see all the marketing they did, over Davos, last year. What was it, COP27 recently, or COP28?
28.
So the ecosystem is growing. They've built a very powerful tool that hasn't existed before, and it will continue to grow. And they're having a hackathon as well. So it is growing as a system and as an ecosystem, and we're just there to basically serve it in the most efficient way.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, Sean, what I see is like this huge momentum that came behind it. I think Hedera is sort of slightly changing, as they try to get more retail on board and DeFi, and so therefore the Guardian push. You noticed it on sort of Davos this year wasn't quite as strong as it was the year before.
Is that on good shot? Okay, cool.
All right. Shall we?
Yeah, like I say, the Guardian ecosystem is growing consistently. There is a lot of momentum behind it. The foundation is pushing it as hard as it can with all the deep pockets it has.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah. So we have Crypto Faco. You had a question? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry, I'm French, so my accent is very bad, obviously.
Well, as a Brit, you need to apologize for being French.
So here's my question. So carbon credits, you have a lot of crypto and non-crypto project actually, and I wanted to know how DOVU you think is different from Klima or Toucan or other things. Is it just another solution, or you think it's very specific and it's maybe superior? Or how do you?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So the reason why DOVU took a little longer to get going and didn't have the sort of presence that sort of Klima and Toucan did is because we didn't see a huge amount of value in tokenizing credits that already existed on other registries. So taking a credit from Gold Standard or from Vera that was already on a database, turning it into a token, and then trying to use sort of financial engineering really to do something else with that sort of token. I didn't see how that helped scale the supply problem that we have globally for good carbon projects. So, because it's easy to do, it's easy to sort of take a database, sort of put it on chain, tokenize it, and claim that you're doing something amazing. And I'm not. It sounds like I'm being harsh against these guys, and I'm not.
You're not.
But it's just not. I don't see that as something that adds value. We wanted to build something that allowed a small project in Zimbabwe, in India, in France, in whatever, in the UK, in Wales, where I'm from, a small farmer to be able to sort of get involved in the carbon economy and to bring on new carbon supply, have it registered, have it documented, have it sort of conforming to, sort of accredited methodologies, but every single part of it being public auditable on Hedera. That I think is valuable, and that's why I think we're different. And I would never say superior, but definitely different and superior.
Yeah, so it probably has a better chance of getting adopted. I mean, onboarding people and smaller farms, as you say, and smaller.
Yeah, I mean the challenge is like who's going to onboard all the supply globally? Who's going to do that? How is it going to get done? How is it going to get verified? How do you keep trust in that? And as importantly, how do you monitor it on an ongoing basis? That can't be done with existing structures the way that they are. They need to be leveraging technology to do that. Whether that's AI tools to sort of help with the sort of to sort of analyze the sort of environment that things are working within, write the methodology, satellites and LIDAR and stuff to sort of look at the ground and see what's actually going on. So we built a system that sort of that makes sense when it comes to using technology to reduce the cost and the time to onboard supply. And I'm not at all interested in tokenizing something that already exists.
And one of the big issues with the onboarding or the bridging of these database credits is that a lot of them actually got cancelled by the registries. So that eventually what you were trading were credits that were officially cancelled or removed from supply from the underlying registries.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and also they were the lowest hanging fruit. These were sort of credits that were many years old, and they were trading at like $2 a ton. And the economics of a project to sort of survive on $2 a ton, in terms of the output of the carbon that they're doing, it's just absolute madness. So everybody that couldn't sell anything basically just put their stuff onto Toucan, and then Klima took it from Toucan and created their sort of token system around it, which is why they could peg their token price to a ton of carbon. So if you got to, you know, and which sort of makes sense when Klima was at, well, you know, $300 a token, but it didn't make sense when it was at 3 cents.
Obviously.
So yeah, so it's different. We're not obsessed about the sort of tokenization element of it. We're obsessed about the audit trail and the reliability and the simplicity, you know, and cost of the sort of system. You know, we don't get sort of hung up about, hey, this is Web3, this is crypto, it's going to be great. It's the whole thing, which is why the Guardian's so powerful, and why, you know, what Matt and the team have been doing, you know, sort of really adds value to that. Hope that answers that.
Yeah, perfectly. Thank you very much. Do you try to contact institution, European or worldwide, or how do you reach institution? I mean, you obviously try to work with farms on like smaller businesses too, but on the institution side of things.
Yeah, so so many years ago, we talked a little bit earlier about investment, you know, in DOVU. So one of our first, we did take some equity investment, seed investment, basically when we were starting the company, and that seed investment came from Jaguar Land Rover, the car company, through their investment arm, which was called In Motion Ventures. It's a wholly owned subsidiary of Jaguar Land Rover. So Jaguar Land Rover are owned by Tata. Tata is just a huge Indian conglomerate, global conglomerate, basically, but you know, headquartered in India. If anybody doesn't know, just just look at the Tata group of companies, and you'll get a scale. It's huge. So part of Tata, of course, is they're on the Tata. I think communications are on the governing council of Adara. So TCS. So, you know, you can see how one thing leads to another, you know, and one of the things I strongly believe in, it's who you associate with sort of gets you the opportunities, really. And one of the other reasons of working with Adara is, of course, the governing council, as well as the technology, is just perfectly positioned, you know, to be demand partners and also other type of partners for what it is that we're building. If you can imagine, sort of, if you are even somebody like a Tata consultancy operating, you know, on the behalf of your global corporate customers, trying to implement a self-serve carbon platform or an ecological credit platform, it would be not a leap to see how leveraging DOVU would be would sort of make sense.
Thank you. It's very almost enlightening. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the question.
Right then.
Okay,
That's great.
Thank you very much for attending. We're going to be doing this sort of more regularly, but in a sort of more focused sort of areas, I think. But thanks, and like always, you know, get in touch if you want to ask us anything, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
All right, cheers.
Thank you very
Bye.
much. Bye.